Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Expanded Understanding, episode 97? 97, close to 100. We just keep on moving along. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here. If it is your first time here, please like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell for additional notifications for when we go live, because we do a lot of different things on this channel. And also, check out our other social media links in the description to meet up with us other places and do other fun things.
Yeah.
Aaron, you're kind of quiet. Why is my overlay not on here? There we go.
Because my mic wasn't by my face, but now
That'll
it is.
do it. That will
that'll
do
do
it. Well,
Turns down the
So-
volume a little bit.
how are things in Aaron land?
Things pretty good. Aaron slept in till 2, which never happens. I just happened to wake up then and was super refreshed. And apparently that happens when you're burning the candle at both ends. Just crashed one night and sleep until 2. It's great.
That can happen. I've been through a lot of periods in time in my life where I'm just not sleeping for not necessarily bad reasons at all, just because I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the case. Eventually you're done. And you're done for how long? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Just happens certain nights. It's oh, okay. I guess that's what I needed. All right. Keep on going.
Yeah.
We still have
Yeah.
building support here for President or future President Queen of Canada and the United States, Willow Beavers. Willow Tree Beavers.
Oh, that's good. I think this is pretty much the home of her campaign. So hopefully there would still be support in
That's
this
good.
location. Otherwise, it is a grim outlook for that campaign, I think. So
Let's not lose that momentum, guys. Let's keep it up. AA Ron approves.
it was funny. There's a guy named Internet Historian, or at least that's what he goes by on
Okay.
his YouTube channel, and this campaigning idea makes me think of this video that he did on the whole Coney 2012 thing, and just how this guy had tried a couple other times to bring awareness to that
Yeah.
and shit, but just how it happened to work that time and how much support it actually got. And if you could really generate that much interest around really anything, you could get a lot done. And if you haven't ever watched
kidding.
Internet Historians videos, you should check them out because they're pretty fucking funny. So
Interesting.
But,
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of him. I remember Coney, yeah, back in 2012, man. That was one of the first online social movements that I got into.
yeah, and then it
Going.
it just completely disappeared. They really didn't have any plan for dealing with this,
Yeah.
They really it was completely an awareness campaign, which in a certain sense an awareness campaign can be fine, but it's usually probably worthwhile to have something to do on the back end of that awareness rather than just
Well, I didn't think they
making everybody
knew.
aware.
Yeah, I mean, when it blew up, I think that was the first video to gain 1 million views in a day or something. I mean, nowadays it doesn't even seem like that much.
Yeah,
'Cause they
it
get
broke a
so
lot of
many, but
records at its
yeah.
time. Yeah. It was unexpected, the response that you would get from that. But, I mean, with the intention of it being to be an awareness campaign from the mentality of, I'm planning to do this awareness campaign. Okay, so I'm going to bring awareness to it, but then what, right?
Yeah, right.
You should probably have some back end to that play, at least in my
Well, now,
opinion.
yeah, I mean that's now, yeah, especially now people know. I mean, I think people are looking that far ahead because that's what you use social media for. I mean, I guess back then too, but it was so long ago, 2012. I mean, that was new to blow up like that on social media overnight. Like, what do you even do with that? They didn't even know.
Yeah, I've worked with some people that they've had extremely viral videos, literally 20 million views and stuff, and they just were in no way, shape, or form actually prepared to leverage that virality in any way, shape, or form. They didn't. One case, this is music, but they didn't have an album, they didn't have merchandise, they had nothing to sell on the back end of this. So they have a video that had 20 million views, but that's it. You've probably
That's
never
it.
even heard of them. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Man,
it
that works.
very much so is about what you do with it. I think that's a good metaphor for life too, though. We all have a life and we all have 24 hours in the day, but really what happens in your life is very much so based off of what the hell you do with those hours.
Yep.
So
Sam's hi Sam. Sam's in the chat. She said sleep's going well in the UK. It's 4 a.m. there and she's wide awake.
hey, I mean, you don't have to get it at the normal time for it to go well, right?
Yeah. Whenever we can get those naps in, man. Power naps are the shit.
Yeah. an interesting power that we have as humans is that we can actually like outwit the circadian rhythm. I'm not sure. Can animals do that? Do they just choose not to? Or can they actually like they have to follow that rhythm?
Yeah,
You
good
know?
question, huh? I wonder. I remember reading a blog on somebody who tried to switch up. Let's see, he would take a 20-minute nap every 2 hours. I forgot what that equated to, 4 to 6 hours a day or something. And it took him like 3 weeks to get his body to adjust, but it did. And he just lived
Yeah.
his life that way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of these weird sleep schedules like that, and they're always like attributed to some great figure in history, saying that like, well, they slept this schedule,
This
so it
this guy
must be
was this
doable.
guy was a random dude. I don't know if it was a Reddit thread or what. He was just tracking his progress. He just thought I'd try it out, and just reading through his blog. That's
Yeah,
what's cool
but
about
he
finding
like
random
probably
people.
got this is oftentimes known as the Iron Man schedule,
Oh, okay.
and that just the Iron Man schedule in and of itself has been attributed to other people. Like even
I
if it's just on the basis of them being like, well, you can totally get by with naps. I mean, like that's what Nikola Tesla did, is basically one thing that they'll say about it a lot of times.
Hmm.
And really, I think Tesla kind of more operated like he slept when he was tired, and I
Yeah.
think that's really like the real effective way to operate. I think it well, I think there's two effective ways to do anything, and one of them's like more flowy, and one of them's more structured.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But the flowy one is always like it's easier to find the answer to what you're supposed to do because you, in a sense, because you just go like, well, what do I feel like I should do right now? Okay, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as secure if you're like you want some consistency because you believe that that leads to a consistent result or whatever. But really, like in a lot of ways, reality doesn't lead to consistent results, right? Like some people, for instance, like they try just as hard as someone else, but maybe don't achieve the same result, right?
Right.
So
Let's see. Um,
just because you want a consistent result doesn't mean you're going to get them. Is kind of the point.
see, Kevin was saying yes, or yes, or it's, I think sleeping, and how about none? Yeah, Kevin and Willow, we started a thread. Fuck, was it yesterday? Not even 2 days ago. Just I don't know about some random shit, and I've come back to it 2 different times today, and there's been 100. So once at one, there's 150 missing messages, or that I hadn't seen.
Oh my gosh,
Went and saw those, or at least I clicked in, and then the
that's a
next
lot.
time it was over 200. After that,
Yeah, those
I don't know how much
those
sleep is going
messages
on
can
there either.
rack up pretty damn fast inside of Messenger and shit like that.
Super fast.
I remember like I mean like people that I've interfaced with a lot on Messenger, and then sometime I'm like, oh yeah, like what was this thing we were talking about? I'm just gonna look back in my messages real quick, and then I'm like many
Yep.
minutes of scrolling or something, and I'm like, fuck this, dude, how we've
Yeah.
talked this much, really? Like,
Yeah. No doubt, man.
wow, I didn't even realize. Holy shit.
It's like creating a whole, and there's also like a whole culture inside of messenger threads, or like subculture or something, like reading them, or because you have chat heads, right? So you know who's seen them, so you know if
Sure.
someone's seen them but they're participating or not participating. So that
Yeah.
awareness then leads to this whole other culture of like expectation of participation, or then people not wanting to click on it because they know they've read but they
Dude,
don't want to read them
honestly,
all.
like the fucking, I bet you the Facebook online thing and those like online now or active recently or whatever, or these little chat heads of seeing it have caused fucking more drama than we would ever
No
like
shit, man.
really notice. I mean, I definitely had a very active situation in my life where like, I mean, just from many different perspectives, whether or not the person was active or online was like this big thing of fucking contention. And I mean, really, if you're asking those questions, your fucking relationship with that person is probably having fucking problems. You know
It's
what I
like,
mean?
well, definitely. So same thing, I guess, for a progression of read receipts on text messages, and now with
Mm-hmm.
Messenger, you've got the chat heads, and then you've got the available online. I think I turned off. I've gone through seasons, but I think I turned off for a while now, where it shows when you're available online. Because one, it's not super accurate. You can go from it looks like someone's available. You go to message them, and then the little thing shows up active 23 minutes ago. It's like, fuck, you just said they're active. Okay, whatever.
It's got all kinds of problems with it. I
And
mean,
then
all
and then
kinds of
people
fucking
also will
problems.
message, "Hey, saw you were online." Boom, 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 boom. It's like, oh, well, that's kind of weird because then I can't just answer it whenever because you saw I was online, I guess, but I wasn't really online. That means Messenger's active. I could be doing a million other things. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just annoying. I just turned it off.
it's not even necessarily like, okay, so if you have a phone and someone calls you on Messenger,
Hmm.
it will put you into an active state,
Yeah,
even
that's
though
so dumb.
you're asleep, right? Like you're
No.
asleep and did not even know that the fucking thing rang, and it could be like realize, Well, for instance, like Jen, right? Okay, so Jen had this one point in time where she just started getting like spammed with friend requests. I mean, and when I say spammed, I mean like spammed like none other, okay? Like she maxed out on friend requests.
I
Not
didn't know that
even
was a
just on
thing.
like
What's the limit
exactly.
on friend requests?
It was a lot, like 5,000 or something. I mean, like it was a lot. Well, like before it was really like, I mean, she had been doing content, you know, like there was altogether the possibility that just like something went viral. She had no idea. So she
Right.
had accepted like a whole bunch of these. A lot of these are just guys that like, I don't know, I guess they just fucking go around Facebook and fucking friend people, or there was some kind of fucking something happened, all weird.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like, Jen gets random fucking calls from guys named like Hashim Ramayani, and it's just like out of nowhere. She's never knows nothing about this person, but they
Right.
just call her, and I mean like a lot, not like sometimes. Like this happened once or twice. It's happened 2,000 times. You
Weird.
know,
Just a straight
so
up messenger call for a Facebook call from
yep,
someone.
out of nowhere,
Weird.
just out of nowhere, some guy you've never fucking heard of in your life, just yeah, very weird. Very assertive way of going about starting a conversation. You know what I
Or
mean?
are they weird sales pitches, or are they just like well, I would say normal people, but that doesn't seem like a normal way to interact. So I
At
don't know.
one point in time, because I like having fun. So
Yeah,
at
yeah,
one point in time, I decided to like answer one of these,
yeah.
and it was like this guy that was just like he was clearly drunk as fuck, and
Jesus.
he was cruising around the streets of some place somewhere in Europe,
Uh huh.
obviously, and he was with two girls, and they did not speak English at all.
Uh huh.
And so we just like had this pseudo, not really conversation for a little while. Like I have no
Weird.
idea. It's like it was
No,
just something they're doing for fun. Oh, let's just call a random fucking person
they
on
do. They
Facebook or
have.
something.
I haven't. I've seen them on the store or whatever. I haven't played with them or whatever. But they have a lot of apps, like community apps, where you just basically you're on video chat and you just scroll through people, and if you guys kind of like think you're both interesting, you start chatting. But you're just video chatting with
Sure. I mean,
random
like I can
people.
understand that from the idea of like Omegle and all, you know, shit like this.
Yeah, but
That makes
Messenger
sense.
seems a weird place
Facebook's
to do
not
it.
really. That's
Yeah.
not really how Facebook works. Usually, it's kind of
I've
weird.
had, I have had like, okay, I finally made it through my friend requests recently. 'Cause I had a bunch. I don't even know what the limit was, but I was never at the bottom of the list. I'd go through a couple of them here or there, and they're just a lot of random ones or whatever. And so I finally cleared them out. But I've had people when I add them, like I'll look at their page a little bit, and I'm not usually too. I mean, there's not usually a reason. Right now, I'm not really adding people that are super, like passionate one side or the other in any kind of political dynamic. It's like, I just got too much of that shit. I already
Yeah,
just like
now might
snoozed a
not be
bunch
the
of
best
people.
time in the world to make friends on social media in certain ways.
It's like people. It's like you find one. I've noticed like you post one post about something, and then you get a bunch of friends that are slanted that way, or friend requests. Post about something, you get slanted the other way, and it just
Yep.
gets interesting. But I've had
Yeah.
this one guy. I think he was a doctor. Where his posts were, whatever. So I added him, and then he called me, and I decided to answer and talk to him a little bit. And he was just trying to find out because he was told, I think he was like a legitimate older dude who just started using Facebook, and he was told there's a lot of fake people on there, and he wanted to see if I was a real person. And we had a very short small talk conversation, and it
Uh-huh.
was fine. And that was it. He was just seeing if I was a real person. I think it was legitimate. Like he just didn't know how to use the system.
Okay.
I was like, "Yep, I'm real." Yeah, and he's like, "So we're friends now?" I said, "Yeah, Facebook friends online."
To whatever extent one does that on
Yeah,
Facebook, yeah.
not. I just met you and just added you, and you just called me. We're not like friends, friends. I know there's not another
Yeah.
word
I'm
for
not gonna
that,
take a
but
bullet for you or nothing
yeah,
like that, but
but we can see how it goes. If you don't get weird on me, then yeah, we can continue to be Facebook friends. That's what I told him and laughed. It's like I don't know why you calling.
right, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, I also kind of in a certain way like respect it. A lot of people out there, they just if they don't know how to do something, they'll just put up some limiting wall right away. And I appreciate a
mm-hmm.
person that's just like, well, don't know how this works. Guess I'll try it out and figure it out. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go.
yeah. That's why it's fun to take calls or do random shit. People being random. Sometimes they're just innocent. I'm just trying to figure
Yeah,
shit out.
especially regarding the calls. Like, I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Really, they're gonna be like fucking weird, and then you just hang up on them and block them. It's like it's not a big
Yeah.
deal.
I think it just feels invasive for people, like especially like you see memes and stuff when you're texting someone and then they call. It's like, hey,
Sure.
fuck you, I was texting, or why are you calling? It's like a level of wanted connection or communication, and then you hit that pivot point, like we're sending tons of audio clips back and forth. Like, so why don't we just call? Why don't I just call
Yeah,
you?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I think like we have different levels of communication that are they're good for different things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And texting really, like I love fucking texting, but that's because I'm not going to play to somebody else's schedule anyways, really. So like
Yeah.
texting's perfect for me because I think everybody kind of agrees that when you're like texting someone, it's like they respond when it's a good time for them,
Yeah, totally.
not like whenever the fuck you feel like they're supposed to or whatever.
Right.
Which I think is the way that people get with a lot of fucking things. We go back to like the idea of like the red notifications and shit like that. Like somebody who's been on the internet for a really long time, they're like really used to the idea that someone would maybe like see your shit but not respond to it right away. And I
Yeah.
think for them, it's not really very much of a problem. But for people who aren't used to virtual formats of communication, oftentimes this is like a huge issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. And it's just a place that just fucking begs for that paranoia to start popping off, right?
Yeah.
Like, why'd they read my shit but they haven't responded? Was it something that I said? Was it something I did? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But it's
And
the same.
like,
It's the same thing as like text messages back in the day. I mean, I remember. I mean, I feel like even as a teenager, right, texting or whatever, I feel like I had to deal with that level of, I don't know what you want to call it, growing up or relational growing up. Like when you send a text, they'll get it when they get it. It's most night texts, like 90+% of the time, guaranteed they got it.
yeah,
Whenever they saw it, they saw it. They'll get back to you when they get back to you. There's a million reasons they may not get back to you. Yeah, it could be something you said. Yeah, they could have been busy. Yeah, I mean, there's like a million reasons. So like, there's zero reason to stress about why someone's not getting back to you. If you got to get a hold of them, call
yeah,
them. Like it's not that big of a deal. But to
yeah.
stress about it and just like go that crazy place inside over things is just super
Maybe
self-destructive.
not so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is really, really, really self-destructive. I think that's really the good word to put on it. That because I think we need to take responsibility for those kinds of things and realize like most of our life getting fucked up is actually something that we do to ourselves through like even if we've had rough situations and things like this. Like I'm not saying that like anybody shouldn't receive any kind of compassion for what they've gone through. I'm really more just trying to like well recognize that like even if you've gone through some shit, like you're probably the one that's gonna get you out of it. It's
yeah,
probably not gonna be somebody else. And the longer that we sit there and like pretend like it's somebody else's responsibility, I think the more that we just really hurt ourselves. Honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
See, Will said she's had a few of those. Texting is better. It just depends on the context. Texting is a lot more efficient, I think, for a lot of things, for sure.
Yeah. I like texting most of the time, but I'm very much so like well, I work with like a lot of people over either virtual things or remote, right? So like
Hmm.
I really have it. I'm comfortable with all of them, like super comfortable. We could talk video chat on the phone, text. We could write each other emails. It don't fucking matter to me. Like I've done all of them a bunch of times,
Yeah,
and I'm very comfortable with all of them. So I just err on the side of whatever is most comfortable for them all the time. And then if there isn't one of those, whatever's most efficient for the setting. I don't think there's a right way. I think it's more about comfort.
I concur.
People
I
work best when
concur.
they're comfortable and that they feel like it's a good space for them, you know. And I think it's really, really beneficial to try and, well, create those spaces for people that you want to have a good interaction with. That's a way that you can definitely take action to, well, make sure that your interactions are going better, you know. Is to really just carve out a space that's safe and amenable to them doing it the way that they want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jordan's texting can really screw up a convo. Makes people sound like their tone is different than intended. Yeah, I think so. It depends on the context of the thing. I mean, there's definitely conversations that, like, once certain topics come up or certain information is presented, I'm like, okay, we need to talk. I'm not talking about this shit in text anymore. There's way too many nuances, or like, this is
Sure.
just, it's not going to help anything, you know?
Yeah.
Almost muted my mic in time. um, yeah, so it's contextual. I think it's harder to have. I mean, I've had really. I'm trying to parse this out now. So I've had really broad and deep and intimate conversations through texting. There's no missed communication, even though there's not body language, there's not voice, any of that. There's like
Sure.
a full experience of the conversation you're looking for in connection with the other person is fully present in the text. At the same time, there's definitely those times I would agree that it's just like it's not possible. It's not going to happen in text. Like there's just, or it could, but it's going to take so much longer. There's just so many things that could be much more quickly communicated. Um, with the phone call or a video chat or something. Just seeing those
Sure.
additional layers and nuances.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has the possibility for exceptional amounts of fucking miscommunication. Again, this is a place where I think we can take responsibility on ourselves. Like maybe you just have to do more work in that setting, and that's kind of one of the places probably where some other type of communication, like a call or face to face, is really just better for that.
Yeah.
There's tons of shit that you can talk about in life where you don't really need like the nuance, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just hey, I'm gonna be buying 5, all right?
Yeah, no
Yep.
doubt.
Like, I don't need fucking nuance for that or tonality or anything.
Even
If I need tonality, then I should use somewhere where I have access to tones, right?
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense to me, at least.
Yep, and gifs, emoji comments and emojis
You can
massively
do a
help.
lot with emojis to break
Yeah,
like tonality barrier down, you
big
know?
time.
Like if I fucking put like a smiley face or a winky face after something, it can really mean something, and you can also really like convey a lot of. Well, there's a whole kind of conversation that you can have through GIFs that I think is like really really fun, and you
Yeah.
just can't have it any other way. It's only animated GIFs. That's the only way to have it.
The animated gifs are like probably the best modern memes. So they're
Sure.
memes, right? But they're with some kind of context to some TV show or character or phrase or but yeah, no, gifts are the best, man. I think that's probably the majority of all those ones that have been in that conversation with me and what Kevin and Will, but probably at least half of those are gifts that
Mm.
just perpetuate on, and being able to do that like nuanced pivot off of a gif where it's kind of in line, but then there's something that's similar maybe to something you were talking about way above, and you throw that gif in and it just spins a whole nother line of gifs. And dude,
Yeah, they become like inside jokes.
yeah, gif threads are great, man.
I'm a fan. I like honestly everything about the internet, even all the bad shit. I love all of it. I just love the internet, honestly.
Could you imagine what have you thought about what you would do or what kind of person you would be or like what your life would look like had you grown up in the era without the internet?
I mean, I've kind of like lived that life as well. When a lot of the time that I spent like being like a dirtbag climber, I didn't have any kind of internet connection. Like my phone didn't even have an internet connection. So like the only time I would even have access to the internet was if I like went to a coffee shop or some shit like that.
Jeez,
So
man.
I'd just be more like that.
So more coffee shops?
I mean, more like hanging out in the fucking forest and just doing
Yeah.
outdoorsy shit. It's
You think
so.
so? Like so you grow up
Oh,
like doing
definitely.
what?
Because
Like
like I
doing
think that stuff is fun. Fun relative to effort put in
right?
is very commonly won out by video games or something like that to me if I'm just spending like hobby time. And then the actual just flat out fun level is also oftentimes beat out for me with like playing video games or something else that's not internet related, something internet related. Yeah, I just enjoy it more.
Right.
So, yeah,
Interesting. I didn't really
I would
I
just be
don't
outside more, really.
like what would you do though for money or for a job or a pursuit if the internet wasn't around? You do like construction stuff, outdoor stuff or what?
That's a harder question to answer because a lot of my life skills I have been sculpted out of like what was going to, be viable in the future. So there was
Right.
a lot of a lot of it's been sculpted around using a computer, and most of that has been around the internet as well. So
Right. I
uh,
was thinking the same
I
thing.
mean,
Like I don't know.
the things that I do even for a living right now, like I might get clients or something on the internet or talk to them via the internet, but the job itself is not really like an internet job. It's a job that you can do on the internet also.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is.
So it's
It
in
just be
many
a
ways
different.
it's more effective face to face. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I
So
guess it'd be a different way of going about it. I mean, no internet, it'd be all like old school 80s and early 90s marketing and
yep,
connection and business
marketing would
BNI
just be completely
groups and
different, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and like how you decided to go about it. So my job wouldn't, as far as that stuff, wouldn't really change. A lot of what I do for work though too is like marketing stuff. And it's tuned towards internet marketing because that's really like best return at this
Hmm.
point in time. But if there was just like not that structure, then I'd just be talking about whatever was the best return as far as
Yeah.
that goes. That like, okay, so if the internet had never developed, but up until the point where the internet dropped, like we follow that vector, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
no adjustment from the internet, but everything else
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
the same way. I would probably just be in much more standard marketing. I mean, really, like my marketing skills, like I easily go and get a job that's like $250,000 a year. There's tons of people willing to pay $250,000 a year for a person that knows what I know. Like, no fucking doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, really, like,
Yeah.
honestly, the
Interesting.
skill's
What an
worth
interesting
more
world.
leveraged in the right places, not working for somebody who pays you a salary. You know? So,
Right?
you just have to do different kinds of work, maybe more work. Yeah, it all depends. So I'd probably do stuff in marketing still. Like, if it was really all about making money for me, I would probably be deeper into marketing or deeper into like financial portfolio management.
Huh.
So, and
Interesting.
portfolio management like that also wouldn't really matter because like honestly like there's so many different ways to have your portfolio diversified, whether it be into like precious metals or it be into commodities or it's into stocks or stock options or
Hmm.
other various different types of well, you know, financial accounts. There's a wide range of those, and that's kind of been done in some way for a very, very long time. And there's always been gain to be made through management of those markets. So it's a very high efficiency way to generate energy, basically.
Yeah.
And that's that really like that's if I was going like the highest efficiency ways to generate energy, marketing or market trading is what I would do. The market's where all the money comes from. So basically, managing or manipulating the market is where most of the money comes from. It just makes total sense, you
Yeah.
know. Unless, of course, you can own the market a la Amazon, in which case, then like that's even better. You know what
Yeah,
I
no
mean?
doubt.
But like setting your sights on I'm gonna be Amazon. Well, you're really shooting at like a one in a bazillion thing with that. You know, Amazon's the first Amazon, and the first of its kind. So
Did you know, I just found out that that Apple has just became the first $2 trillion company, I believe, just here recently.
interesting to me. I think Apple stuff is dog shit. So it's surprising to me. Like they are such a testament to how fucking great marketing can do for your business.
Mm,
Like comparative to other things that are on the market in every single space that Apple operates in, there's better shit, and it's
mm.
usually cheaper. But
Is that
somehow their company continues to grow.
has that always been
Marketing.
true? Because I thought there was at one point. I mean, I know a lot of computers, video editors, and things. A lot of them were going swearing by the Apple stuff and the Apple products and Apple phones for a time. Is it just because things have gotten so much better in the
There
Android and
was
the
a little
other open
period
market?
of time where there was video editing software that was made for OS from Apple OS that was
Ooh,
not.
Kevin's into Apple. So agree to disagree. Yeah,
That's
go
fine.
ahead,
The
elaborate.
benchmarks agree with me, so I'm gonna go with the facts.
Nice.
But you know, it's not really it's not a personal question to me. It's literally just like this is how all technology stuff works. You literally like for me at least, I check benchmarks and compare benchmarks to price marks. And like that's what determines what the good technology is. There's no
Yeah,
fucking emotion or like brand loyalty or anything. Not a stitch, you know,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it has nothing to do with that. So if
That's it. And Willis got your back on the emotional aspect. Said, Kevin, I repeat, Apple is trash. You dumb son.
just because you can't afford one to throw hate. It's fine. I mean, I had a MacBook Pro at one point in time, but the only reason I bought it is because it was the only laptop on the market that had a metal unibody construction, and I was going to be using it out at a crag all the time. So it seemed ideal for that. I needed
Mm,
weatherproofing. And so it's nothing against the company or
yeah,
that
yeah,
I can or cannot afford one. It's that there's not sensible for me to spend money on that. You
yeah.
know, I always bought Radeon or ATI video cards until Nvidia became the better video card to buy, and then I bought them.
Yeah,
You
so you're
know?
not brand loyal just because of sentiment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which makes
The
sense
only
for
reason
anybody.
you say look inside any studio and see what they're using, the only reason why they do that is because their tech people aren't very good. That's the only reason. Apples are a very standardized rig, and because of that, everything works on them very easily. But pound for pound processing power and shit like that, no, not gonna happen. The best
Mm.
processors on the market don't get put into pre-built PCs. It's just not. It's not viable for the price point of what you're trying to do when you have a pre-built PC. It doesn't make financial sense. So best processors, best RAM, etc. You get schlocked on all that shit all the time. So it's literally every company that pre-builds PCs, Dell's, Hewlett Packard, Alienware, Apple, every single one of them, they're all not worth buying. None of them are worth buying. You should piecemeal all of your parts and build your own shit if you want actually the fastest possible shit. But since you have a unique configuration, you may run across more problems. In fact, you most likely will because there's a whole lot, there's just so many different things that can be
Yeah.
different.
That
So,
it doesn't
you know,
take that much. Like when I dove into building computers, did that for several years and built half a dozen computers for myself and other people, and then and I just had them pay what I just had them pay me the parts it cost. Got off them off of whatever those half a dozen sites: Newegg, Tiger
sure.
Direct, Amazon, Monoprice, whatever. Um, and then they just paid me
If you
some.
build your own MacBook Pro, it's not a MacBook Pro anymore. It's a unique system built by Kevin. It's a MacBook Pro when it comes from the Apple company and has not been voided out of warranty.
Yeah, because
They
then
have a warranty on it because they
be able to buy
warranty a MacBook Pro. If you voided
right.
that warranty, it ain't a MacBook Pro anymore by their own laws.
Yeah,
So that's Apple saying that,
yeah,
not
yeah.
me.
Yeah, when you end up buying the computers, I mean, they pay me a little bit for labor. I just really enjoyed doing it, and then being able to do different configurations based on what they want to do, what kind of computer they wanted to do. That was back when SSDs were starting to become consumer price available, and so
Sure.
building hard drives off of SSDs and the OSs off the SSDs, and um, I haven't been in it in a while, but yeah, different graphics cards, and they can what's it called when you can chain the graphics cards together based on the motherboard and
SLI
yeah, SLI. And then they had what
or
was it?
Crossfire if you're using ATI cards. But
What RAM are they at now? They're at DDR2 or 3 then. What are they at, 4 or 5 now?
I think DDR5 was the last time that I saw, but there's
Jeez.
probably DDR6 on video cards. Video
Wow.
cards have been like a rendition ahead on
Of the
memory
actual
over
RAM, right?
recent times.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a difference because it's like standard RAM versus VRAM, and since it's doing a more specified thing, it can run faster. Something I don't really know. So I don't keep like super up to date on parts unless I'm building a system. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I'll know like, you know, what the best video card is on the market because
Yeah.
that's like a fucking common knowledge thing inside of gaming. Like if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know that, do you even play games on computers? You know what I mean?
Do you ever
So
use was it PCpartsbuilder.com?
nope.
I think you can list out every part you want to just track the prices on or the
Mm,
configuration. It lets you build the configuration together, whatever you want. And I think it does the pricing, the market pricing plus pricing you can get it through. It just algorithms through, a bunch of Newegg, all those other sites to find the
sure.
cheapest price for that, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like
I still get
it's a
emails
good
from
thing to
them.
buy if you're gonna like track your parts or you're just trying to find the cheapest price.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for sure.
Looking at configurations.
Yeah, I don't. Usually, when I'm like buying a system, I know like kind of what the median price for something's gonna be, and I really build computers, especially for myself, off of like price range. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because usually I don't buy top of the line motherfucking anything. I don't care how much the price is like shifted around or something. It's not worth it. It's never
It
ever ever
reminds me
been worth it.
because I was doing it on my own too, but I was talking to my ex's grandfather and the one who used to work for IBM and retired super early, but he would build his own computer every I think 3 years, and then his budget every time was 5 grand. I think that's just what he did to build a new computer,
If,
and he got
I'll
like
fly you to the fucking moon with a
yeah,
five
no
thousand
doubt,
dollar
and he'd
computer,
always
dude.
build his
Like
own, yeah, and he'd get
Jesus
because he
Christ,
ran
we'll literally
everything
be
from
able to
home.
pilot the Earth around.
Well, and he's like he was surrounded. He had his own like in his little library area, he had his own like I don't know what you call it, like bridge, like on the captain's deck or whatever. It's all that multi-screen, 3 or 4, I think 4 screens, and I mean his whole server setup. I mean he when he bought that condo, he had it wired the way he wired it back in the day, like 2001. He had him running cat, whatever the guy's cat was at the time, and coax, and throughout the whole building or the
Yep.
whole place, and So yeah, he's always done that. But yeah, I think the last time he bought one I was with him when he was going through it, which was cool, and he only spent like $3,000. He said there's no reason to spend more. This is way more than I need already. Like it finally
Yeah.
gotten to that point where it was just you didn't need to do that anymore because there's just so
Yeah, I
much to
found
get.
right around the $2,000, unless you're doing something super power user, and by super
Yeah.
power user, I mean like you want to play realize like even like the brand newest games at the highest resolution anything could push, nothing pushes that like actually competitive good. It's like it barely gets it, and then later it runs it pretty good, and these kinds of like it's fucking just not worth it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's never worth it. The one down from the top one is where it ends. Like that's where it stops, unless fucking money is no object at all.
Do you use Pentium, that was the Intel boards, or the
Whatever one's the best at the time.
just whatever the
I
high? But
have
yeah, but isn't
zero
that
fucking brand loyalty.
okay? Right, but best just by clock speed, 'cause there's also cores and multi-thread ability, right? Isn't there more dynamics involved now than just clock speed on on a
All
chip?
of the technical specifications balanced against each other and
Oh, okay.
cross-referenced with their price point.
Oh well, okay, all right. When you say it that way, yeah, I get it. All right, you just
You-
oversimplified it.
it's just an analysis, a complete analysis
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
is the most effective part to buy at that time.
Did
Really,
you find benefit when you would get ones that you could unlock cores and actually unlocking the cores and running them that way?
I
Or did you never mess with
unlocking
that really?
cores on something. I mean, like I've never even heard of a processor where you could unlock cores.
Really?
You can buy multi-threaded processors,
No,
and you
no.
can be like utilizing the cores.
They have
but
cores. They have
why?
extra cores on every chip because some of the cores fail when they're going through processing, and they just deactivate those cores. So they only run the cores that they're the top 8 cores or 16 cores or whatever. And
If
so they
that's
show
the
you how to
thing, I
get
have
in.
never bothered with it. I've done lots. I've overclocked everything.
Yeah, because then
With
all the
all types of
overclock
different
stuff when you get
cooling
into
systems, all
actual
this shit. But I've
keyboard dots, you can
never
unlock the cores.
even seen an option or a reference to someone activating more cores on
Yeah.
their processor. It sounds to me there's a numerous amounts of little, I'll call them old wives' tales
No, I've seen
inside of
videos, man.
basically stuff.
You've never heard of it, but I've seen videos, and I
But
swear I did
does
it on
it
one of.
benchmark with any type of positive effect?
That's a good question. I'm assuming it does, but
That's the most important question
well,
because
no
you ain't
doubt.
seen no result until you benchmarked it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
that's true.
So just because you can change some numbers to something on a graphic user interface does not necessarily mean that there has actually been a hardware change that transpired in
Yeah.
any capacity.
Fair enough.
But maybe this is a thing and I just don't know about it. Like that's
Yeah.
altogether. I don't know everything there is to fucking know about computers. No reason to.
Thanks,
Really.
thanks for chiming in, Joseph. Good to see you. These fucking nerds.
Yeah.
Just a moment ago.
Great computers just to watch that 4K porn. It's actually better if you get in that stereoscopic VR, but you need a good computer for that too.
Just get stereoscopic. And then
Yeah.
see, I want to scroll up a little bit because Bree Larson left a comment. Hi, Bree. She's still listening. It was on the text message thing. Said it's nice when you know someone well enough that you can sense their tone and intention through text. That is
Yeah.
nice.
It's like a whole nother way of getting to know them in a certain way to understand the way that they write.
No kidding. Yeah, yeah.
I think I think it in a certain way it's a thing that's been lost in kind of this interim period, right? Like we wrote a lot of letters and shit and postcards and such.
Yeah, man.
And then we quit entirely because we had like the fucking phone. Now,
Yep.
why would you ever write a postcard? It doesn't make any sense. And then, now we've now went past that. So it's like bracketed with this like writing. You know what I mean? Now we write
Right.
text messages. Back then we wrote letters. And be like somebody could have said the same thing about a long form letter. Like it's great and everything. You say a lot of romantic stuff, but I can't really sense your tone.
Right. You
Well,
could,
yeah, of
that's
course you
true.
couldn't. It's fucking written words. They don't have any tones in them. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
But you can
tone
still
to it,
sense
for
their
sure.
intention
I
behind what
guess
they're
so.
saying. I
Well,
mean,
the
tone
tone-
is an audible thing. If it's not making a fucking noise, it
No,
technically
but
doesn't
okay,
have
no,
a
no,
tone.
no. But if it's putting a cadence in your head while you read it, that's a tone, right? You just said it's a romantic letter, so the tone would be you'd hear it in a voice of them speaking these things in the tone that would maybe indicate something romantic.
I understand us using this kind of like abstraction of what tone means.
All right, I think that's a fair
get it.
abstraction.
I understand where we're coming from. I really do. I mean, studying linguistics for a really long time, a big part of that is like coming to recognize that what you're trying to get across is actually not just a bunch of words. It's
Right.
more than that. It's also like
Right,
the
much more.
emotions that you have behind it and maybe like some kind of drive or motivation is intended with it, or maybe oppression. Like you can use it all over the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, there's a thing that you're getting across, an emotion. Just like it's, I don't call it tone.
All right. So far, based on everything you presented and what I presented, I do call it tone. I would like to have
That's
something a
fine.
little more detailed, but yeah, that makes
That's
sense to
totally
me.
fine. Yeah. I mean, I think is let me, because I use this word in here, but before I say it, I have to check it and see whether I've been using a dumb word.
Or using a word dumbly. Ooh, let's go with that.
It's no better than tone,
What is it?
tenor. It's really like the same thing
Yeah.
in a certain sense. Well,
But
no.
I don't know. I don't know what else to
In
call
these
it.
in these
Letters
other
can.
things, it says that it's not. When you're using it as like a noun. Wait, no, that one's as a noun too. Because it has a meaning as like a singing voice, which isn't what I mean at all from it, even though
Yeah.
that is what it originally meant.
Okay. What else would you call it though? When it's words, right?
It
We can
originally
tell the
meant to
tone.
hold.
Tenor.
So actually, no, I think it is right because where it originally comes from, medieval Latin was based on tenere, which means to hold. And what that means is that the tenor of something is the intention that it holds. Because the noun usage of it is the general meaning, sense, or content of something. So it's
All right.
not really the tone. Me talking either like this or like this. Now that's a deviation in tone. But when I did it from a loving place and a loving place, the tenor remained the same. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I
That
don't,
is better. That's more encompassing word
we're
for
splitting hairs about
something.
fucking words here. We all know what everybody means when they're like, I can't sense the fucking tone, you know?
Yeah, but
But I think we really mean like more
tenor,
intention.
Well, now that you broke down tenor, I think tenor's better. It's like a combination of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we do this a lot. Like we don't actually know what the right word is for something, so we pick the closest possible word that we know.
Of course,
And
but then
then
we're
it
trying to
gets kind
nuance
of like fudged and
communication.
stuff.
That's like
Yeah,
that's
but I
poetry
mean,
and
like we're worried
communication.
about people being able to pick up people's tone, but we're not even using the right words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we should be more worried about that.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
we're
really.
worried about collective understanding of words, no matter how
Sure.
ridiculous the word is
That's
or
the
whatever it
biggest
means.
problem right there.
Okay.
You
Also,
know?
Joe asked if I have a new conditioner. Joe, why are you noticing that, and how are you noticing that this far away? For one,
That's what Joe does, man.
and
He just
it's
picks out whether people have new conditioner. It's
okay.
his thing.
Well done. I don't. It's not
Rain
new,
Man.
but I did
He's
condition
a
my
Rain Man
hair
of hair products.
thoroughly the other day. Yeah. Good catch, Joe.
He's like, wow, you switched to Pert Plus, huh? And you're like, what the fuck? How do you know that? Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Well done. You can't even smell it or nothing. Man, that's very impressive, Joe.
Yeah, he just knows, dude. It's just a thing. It's a special gift bestowed upon him by the Lord.
By the Lord. By the mushroom
who-
lords.
Whoever the Lord is of this manner. Yeah. You gotta have the tools to do the job, you know what I mean? So somebody needed to know when people change their conditioner or other hair products. And so,
You know what the letters thing. So I thought about that before because I did like pen pal stuff in school. They had us. In Canada we had a Canadian pen pal. You know, could have been Willow, except she wasn't born yet.
problematic.
Yeah, a bit of a problem.
You put your pen pal letters in a time capsule.
Yeah, we did time capsules too and but we wrote letters, man. That whole thing, it was much more common. So we were writing letters to people back and forth, and then I mean a lot of movies, you know, because texting wasn't a thing then when growing up. So movies all had, you know, any type of long distance dynamic. We're writing letters. So I guess learning to structure letters. So I've always valued letters and knowing how to write and communicate at length, and just some of the basics. Or having a body of a letter, introduction, just things that make sense and it flows. And you break up your paragraphs so it's legible. Same thing with long text messages. And sometimes people put one. There's just no break in a paragraph. It's just scrolling one long thing, and it's like it's fine, but it's hard. You look away for a second or whatever. It's hard to lose your spot. So communicating in a way that there's a flow to the conversation or to the articulation or the expression, and then I mean carrying that into text. So obviously there's a lot of times it's just short text. It's either just an emoji or a short word comment or back and forth or whatever, audio clips back and forth here and there. But then even in text, being able to, I've noticed with on like dating apps and stuff, probably or just like trying to just talk with people and interact, and I've sometimes I think I forget that I can be really emotive on text, use emojis, and just I want to communicate the right tenor. instead of
Mm,
just hey. It's like hey with like a smiley face, happy thing. Like there's some
right.
like hey, not just like
Yeah.
hey, what's up,
Yeah.
how's it going? Like there's
I hear that.
something, and then I think it's sometimes people start to kind of get on board and start to use emojis, but I notice initially they don't. There's either just not as much effort, which is fine, or I don't think people necessarily communicate that way. Like, I try when I texted
Younger
to
people do.
the
Younger
text.
people emoji all over the fucking place.
Oh yeah, okay, good. It's not an old thing because I feel like I don't know.
No,
I'm not
you're
old or
young.
young.
You're interacting with old people
Oh,
functionally. I mean,
I
to be
guess so.
completely blunt about it, you really
Yeah, I
are.
guess.
You know. So young people at this point in time are like, it, they'll say like that's fire, winky face, fire sign, and then some other thing,
Yeah.
like, and this is a totally standard thing for them to do. All over fucking Twitch, you see all these kids like the amount of because Twitch has even its own emojis
Oh,
built
okay.
in,
Cool.
and every fucking meme that's ever been on the platform has been made into an emoji somewhere, and so emojis are flying in hot all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, younger people, especially really young people, we're really young. We're talking like beneath teenager.
Yeah.
Like, is it,
Emoji heavy.
a lot of them,
See, I think to
tons
me
of them,
that makes more sense. As
to an
original.
annoying extent. Yes,
It's a
exactly. Younger people use emojis to
yeah.
an annoying extent. Willis says, yeah, it really is. Is
I think it goes
oftentimes
like
more emojis than text.
yeah, it goes. I think it goes both ways. When somebody's like only using, I mean, I haven't thought about this too much or whatever. But if like there's no emotive interaction or even gifs or something or emoji comments or something, it's just text. Unless there's a lot of like wording your emotions, right? Like ha 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 or like something. How else do you know the tenor of what's being communicated
Right.
besides just the words? But then so that can get kind of annoying, I guess, or at least leave the conversation lacking in some way. But at the same time, when somebody's only doing emojis or overly doing emojis, that's also lacking, and it's just the other end of the
Yeah.
spectrum.
I think it's a balance thing.
Yeah,
Moderation, Aristotle would have been the king of emojis because he would have used exactly the right amount. You know what I And that's what it is. It's really about
dude,
having the right amount.
emojis are fun, man. If you can like hold out or do the
You can
right
tell whole
thing,
fucking stories in emojis and never send any text at all. Just the other person has to decode your hieroglyphics.
dude. And this has happened like time to time. It just reminds me of like organic, nuanced types of interacting online that I've had with people over time that just kind of happen and then they go away. And it's like, and I wonder if the other person is just as intrigued as what just seemed to just organically start happening. So like one of them recently was with Angela, who started doing. She realized she could change the thing in the bottom right corner, thumbs up or the heart or whatever you want to put. There's a
Sure.
handful of emojis, and so we changed it to that after. I think she started sending me. She found some other emojis, like talking about a dolphin or something. So I put a dolphin. She sent back dolphins. Then it was several dolphins, and it was dolphins and like the earth, and it was like it was going on with the conversation we had. But it was random emojis, and then we just do like one dolphin. I'd do two, then three, then two, then one to make these patterns
Hmm.
like down screen, and then she'd do a similar pattern or add to it, and then like I'd figure out what her pattern or like it became this game. We didn't say anything; it just started
Yeah.
happening in emojis, and I'm like, huh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
They're kind of like, emoji in and of itself, kind of like a hieroglyphic, and it
Yeah,
really means that same thing. And so, like, any way of getting your thoughts across, like, you can find some fucking way to communicate. Yeah,
yeah.
if you really choose to, I think. I
Well, I've
don't think we
always
hold ourselves responsible enough for like fucking communicating well. It's important that we communicate well. If we want our life to go the way that we want our life to go, it's important that we can communicate to other people in order to accomplish that. So everybody should rank it at a high priority, in my personal opinion. I realize my personal opinion does not determine a should in anyone else's life, but you know,
you
if
know
I was to project one out
it's
there.
interesting how much I forget. I mean, I may have mentioned it over time on the show times or whatever, but I think about it a lot in the last year and a half or so. Um, like how much eye contact can make a difference. And I don't notice how much I don't make because I'm thinking a lot while I'm talking, and so I know like I'm aware my eyes are in different places. I talk with my hands, like but I've noticed other people are really more settled, and they're present, or I don't feel like I'm not present with eye contact, but anyway, just with certain people, I was chilling out in Nate's garden the other day, and one of his neighbors came out and we were talking, and while we were talking, she was just like holding eye contact with me the whole time, and it felt really, I don't know, nice. Like I was just like, huh. Like that's something you don't get in almost any other dynamic. Is like just an icon and a real live in time in person eye contact, just while
Mm,
having a normal conversation. I don't
sure.
know. It was a thing that felt significant.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of connectivity done through what you're doing with your eyes that goes beyond what we've like studied and substantiated up to this point.
Right.
So it really like generates. Have you ever done those like exercises of like staring into somebody's eyes for like a really long time, doing nothing but that, like really close?
Yeah. So I was.
It's fucking weird.
I've initiated this with several people because I wanted to try it for my own reasons, different reasons, just connection. And I actually did this with. I did it also with the counselor that I was seeing last year, and we did it for a whole session. It's like 50 minutes. We talked it when we were
Wow.
done afterwards. We did it for 50 minutes and no words. It was awesome. That was really interesting. But when I've done it with, I mean, even in that, like what I noticed in myself is when my eyes shift away or want to shift away, why? Like stopping to think, like what
Yeah.
was I thinking? What was I feeling?
Right.
Why? You know, and just
Yeah.
being
What am I avoiding?
aware. Yeah, what am I avoiding? What was I looking at? What was I distracted with? Even it's not like avoiding. Maybe I was just letting myself be distracted because I'm trying to be focused here and present or whatever it is. But like being aware of that, and then also, just over time, I think like you look at someone long enough and their face starts to anthropomorphize, if you want to call it that, shift or morph, but based on who knows what, our own subconscious, that theirs, I don't know, just different dynamics. So you like, you perceive things, whether it's in the other person or a reflection of you, or there's a million amazing things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and that works. It's similar looking in the mirror too, especially on entheogens or other dynamics. But to be able to hold that in the mirror, all the
Yeah.
stuff that just comes out or is allowed to be kind of be more present than
Yeah.
normally is.
I think a lot of the reason why people have problem with like looking in the mirror on psychedelics is because that dynamic that you're talking about starts happening real quick with just a reflection of yourself, and you're like, wait a fucking minute, like
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit, yeah,
But
because that's like the weirdest thing about it. Like if you do it for long enough, it starts to get like psychedelic or
yeah,
hallucinogenic,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like we didn't do anything. We didn't do a breathing exercise. We
Right,
didn't fucking like stand some specific way. We fucking did nothing. We just looked at each other
right.
and like kept our gaze right there. And suddenly
Yeah,
I'm like seeing something that's not real. Like
right,
by what mechanic is it not real? It's like
right,
a completely sober experience that was brought on by a completely sober chain of events. Like what's not real about it? It's
right.
very confusing to me why we call that not real. I don't really think of it as not real myself. Yeah.
And it's and interesting the dynamic too of excuse me. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? So we're talking about looking at each other's eyes. Oh, like, well, one. So I forgot where I heard it from, but he was breaking in down in certain studies and making other connections about the amount of light and data that's transferred through the eyes that they've been able to show.
Mm,
Like there's a massive amount of transfer,
sure.
and I've been connecting it also to when I've been with someone who was having a seizure and we're holding them in my arms. I noticed that when they were 100% not present with me, their pupils were completely dilated. There's almost no iris at all. And
Mm,
over the course of like 10 minutes, their iris began to get larger and their pupil began to shrink
mm-hmm.
and constrict, and they were more and more present, like be able to respond to me. Other than that, it was like they're trapped in their body, could hear me sometimes, but they're seizuring. The other times they're definitely not present.
Sure.
And so I find that really interesting too, the way the iris moves. And iridology, man, is incredibly accurate science.
Yeah.
Incredibly accurate.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot about the eyes that we don't fully get yet.
I think it's fucking. That is true for the whole of the human experience, and that's why we should fucking
Yeah,
take
no
it
shit.
easy on ourselves, man.
Yeah.
Like if we can accomplish at least like having fun, we might be doing all right. Because like fuck, there's a lot of stuff we don't know. You know,
Yeah, right.
it's it's pretty crazy. So, uh, it's been an hour. I want to get something to eat, and
Cool.
that's a good note to go out on, really.
Yeah, that is a
So
good one. Thanks
we
for
don't
joining us,
need to know
guys.
everything. You don't need to figure out the whole of the future. Just like check in with yourself and do the best that you can for yourself in the moment that you're in right now, and you'll probably be doing better than you were before if you weren't doing that.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's gonna solve all your problems, but it'll probably make it better than it was if you weren't doing that. So, and it's free. That's the best part about it. It's literally just, you just do it for yourself, and it's free, and you can always do it. It's great. So, anyways, like, subscribe, bell notifications, social media links below. Check out our Discord server. I'm usually in there. I play games and stuff in there. And if you play any of the games that are already in the voice chat channels in there, I'd be interested in playing them with you. So, anyways, have a good night. We're back on Wednesday, and then Friday, and then Saturday. And yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful night. Willow, Kevin, always wonderful to have you here. Joe, Bree, everybody else, thanks for stopping by. Somebody else was talking earlier. I'd like to say something to specifically. Jordan, you were very active. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming by our channel, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. We will see you around.